they have been doing a lot of recolors, which I do not think is something that they really want to be doing. There is an expectation to keep the shop updated and fresh every single week for the duration of a whole season. They're trying to find the things to prioritize the most, like Kiriko, Genji, Mercy. We're back with some more Overwatch hot takes. Join my Discord down below if you want to send me your own hot take. We are going to just jump right into this with the best Overwatch heroes to be meta. So this person thinks that the most healthy meta, so this is the most one single meta, this is the healthiest it can be, would be Ana, Lucio, Junker Queen, Ashe, and Echo. And they do not give a reason. So I want to talk about this mainly in the fact that this is one single meta. This is one, like, the healthiest the game can be is if these characters were the ones that were the best, and this is what we mirror matched into. I mean, I think that there's no one meta. I think it's really silly to say there's one comp that is the definitive healthiest, because I think that it's also just the game is in its healthiest state when you can play multiple things, right? In my opinion, the game has been at its best when everything is map dependent. That is like kind of the biggest factor that determines it. There's a good healthy variety, but it needs to work for the map more than just needs to, kind of supersede that, right? So think about, we'll say something similar to this comp, those Junker Queen comps from the beta, which was definitely Junker Queen Lucio, and I think Ashe kind of found her way into it eventually. There was some kind of theory about throwing Ashe in there to counteract the Dynamite, rather than like a Sojourn or something. That has existed, right? But is it possible for one single meta to be the best, the healthiest ever? No. I mean, people are going to get bored of characters regardless of how fun they are. I think you have a nice, fun pick of heroes here, but, eventually tank players might get bored of Junker Queen. I don't know why. I like Junker Queen a lot, but, if you have to play her game after game after game after game, it's going to get a little boring. I think Ashe in particular is one of those characters that doesn't have as much depth as I think the rest of these characters. And she would be kind of like, I'd like a little bit more flair on my hit scan instead of it just being kind of old reliable, right? I think I can definitely see that being an issue. I guess if we're going to engage with this, I think, one, on an individual hero level, these are all pretty good picks, although I think I would definitely replace Ashe with maybe like Tracer or something. Echo has her own amount of somewhat annoying qualities, but I think it's fine. Echo is a fine pick here. I think Junker Queen is really fun, but I mean, there's plenty of other tanks that, other people really like. Reinhardt. I wouldn't really want a hard Reinhardt meta. Winston, I think, is a really good substitute into this because you can play it brawlier, you can play it divier. I think it would work more on more maps and be a little more dynamic than Junker Queen, especially on vertical maps. But yeah, I definitely don't. I don't think this is the most. What's it called? The best, healthiest comp ever. Everything's gonna have its own vices. Especially like Ana Junker Queen with nothing to mitigate the nade. I feel like that's just gonna be. There's gonna be very little counterplay actually to anti-nade. I guess you can shout, sure, but anti-nade is a really, really big tool in this comp. Combine that with Ashe Dynamite, it's gonna be really kind of mindless, denying Junker Queen shout value and Lucio healing. I think. I definitely don't think that there is one particular comp. I think this sounds fine overall, but I see some cracks in the surface here that I think I would not take. But that was perfectly fine. Good. I mean, I think it felt like a greatest hits collection, basically, of heroes. That's kind of what it read like to me. This hot take is a joke. This is the skins debacle, and if you don't know what this is referring to, this is just, you know, they're they have not released any venture skins. They've been out for 4 months plus. There are no legendary venture skins. We only know about one that is definitely coming in season 14, that Aaron Keller was talking about. So you see this dumb meme here with the big greedy guy, you know, Kiri, who has gotten the most amount of skins per volume wise since the game launched. You know, so okay, basically here's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about pipelines. I think Blizzard's skin pipelines have been completely demolished since a lot of employees have been laid off, and it's a terrible thing. But realistically speaking, I think when you are a game development studio who's trying to prove to your corporate overlord that your game can make money, you have to prioritize the things that will make you money. Yes, Mercy and Kiri and Genji continue, and Reinhardt even continue to get skins upon skins upon skins because they make money, right? When your game doesn't make money otherwise, and you're again trying to allocate as many resources to your game, because I also think that I think we've seen it recently. The resources that the dev team are working with have definitely gone down. Obviously, there's no PvE in the works. They have been doing a lot of recolors, which I do not think is something that they really want to be doing, but there is an expectation to keep the shop updated and fresh every single week for the duration of a whole season. And that this is just something that they cannot slow down on no matter what. And as the resources and go away and the pipelines get disrupted because people are getting fired, they're trying to find the things to prioritize the most, like Kiriko, Genji, Mercy, and the other ones that are unsure bets, like Venture, I guess even Juno, because she's new, have to get pushed back. Is that sucky? Yes. I hate it. I think we all want Venture skins. I think we all want Juno skins. We don't want to just keep watching these same heroes get skins over and over and over again. And we don't want our other characters just be relegated to recolor Nightmare Hellzone. But I think we do have to think a little realistically here. Why would this happen? It is not that the dev team do not want to make skins for these heroes. I think we can all agree that's obviously not the case. But when the pressure comes from the corporate Blizzard ladder, then it becomes much more enticing to be like, we have very limited resources to allocate. Let's finish up those skins we know will make us money, and then keep pushing the other ones back and slowly work on them over time and release them when they're ready, right? It sucks. It really sucks. I think it's just kind of an unfortunate situation. And I know people cry, $1 billion Blizzard, what are you talking about? It's a terrible company. The suits are really bad. And it really shows, right? I think the dev team have done a really good job making the actual gameplay experience much better without having to monetize it at all. The Battle Pass XP is much more forgiving. All the heroes are available for free now. You know, they've worked back, and that tells me that the skins and all that extra stuff, you know, when they take monetization away, that tells me that it's so much stronger in the other departments that they don't need that extra monetization, right? So the skins are that lucrative, the ones that sell, that they don't need. It makes the rest of the game better, right? That they're allowed to make the rest of the game better and not monetize because those skins they make so much money for them. So, under capitalist society, under big corporation, you have to improve your growth every year. You can't just be steady. So you have to find a way to improve your growth. And if Kiriko, Genji, Mercy make you the most money, when you make more of those skins, you get more money. It is just kind of how it works, right? Again, it sucks, but I think a lot of people are just kind of like, why would they not make skins about that? And it's just like, I don't think it's in their control. I really think that they're doing as much as they can to like leverage it back and forth. All right, so here's like a real hot take from Langston, same guy. This is about the new changes to the new patch notes. Let's see what we've got here. So, buffing Mercy damage boost from 25 to 30% and nerfing many heroes HP to 225 pushes a lot of breakpoints that make playing a 225 HP character versus a Mercy damage boosting hero feel awful and like you explode all the time. I'm not sure buffing damage boost and Ori javelin damage, okay, in the same patch is lowering much of the cat's max HP was a good decision at all, and it feels even more awful to play versus any burst DPS being pocketed by a Mercy than it did before. I don't think this is a hot take. I think this is probably the most like, this is one of the more like shared, widely agreed upon opinions, is that like buffing damage boost is just always scary. And when you add another like factor while you do it, that would make it better, you've got to be really careful. Sure, Mercy did get a health nerf, but that's not really the problem. Mercy's survivability was never the problem with her. It always comes down to damage boost and res. And that part of her kit has just gotten better. Now, I don't think any particular breakpoints get destroyed here or really pushed out of the way, right? I don't think Mercy is going to make any new characters one-shot 225 heroes. It's not going to be Ashe. It's not going to be Soj. I think those characters have to be... In fact, that's probably why Soj didn't get a damage buff here, is because they need to make sure she is caught in line with Mercy damage boost getting better with the 225 changes. So, yeah, I honestly understand Ori Javelin a little more. It's the same idea with like Hanzo, Junkrat, one-shot characters being better against 225 health characters. Ori just gets better against those characters. I mean, that's kind of really what I think they're going for there. That one makes a little more sense in the direction that they're looking for, but Mercy is just always super duper scary. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. I don't think she's going to be particularly strong because of that health nerf. She gets, kind of eaten alive by fast characters. And now she can get one shot if she's hard over positioned by certain other characters. So I don't think it'll be that bad, but it's definitely going to be annoying. I mean, like it's always annoying when you have to fight a damage boosted character. Okay. This next hot take, this final one, this is actually my hot take. I wrote it down because I wanted to not forget about it. And I'm not going to read you this whole thing, but because I have another point that isn't really covered in this paragraph. But this is about Overwatch cinematics. So we just got the Juno cinematic. That, yes, it is a cinematic. It has the Blizzard Presents by it. It is animated. It is not just like a static origin story with a little bit of extra flair. It is animated. It is a CGI animated cutscene. I say cutscene. It's not in the game. It is an animated short, right? And I really like the implications behind it. I think it's really good for them to give us more cinematics. It's a good win-win scenario where we get something that is a little more stylized and a little more interesting visual-wise, while you can obviously tell that this type of animation is much cheaper for Blizzard to produce, right? It is not on that like super faux Pixar level of like really high attention to detail. It doesn't have to be that, and there's no problem with that because it's got its own style and flair. And that's great. That means we're more than likely going to be getting more animations like this, right? We're going to get more cinematics that actually expand the lore or just fun things for the character, right? I think this is a really, really good thing overall. The one thing that I have as a problem, as we watch more cinematics, as I've had this opinion for years, um, is that the writing is just really bland and super safe. It is not really anything interesting. It is overly explanatory. It is really like, what's it called? Really surface level type of theming and character development that really makes me wonder what the point of the cinematic really was. Obviously, just having some different way to express the characters, that's fine. But there's nothing I feel like I'm gaining from watching the cinematic other than it being just kind of like a nice thing that we got, right? Think about some of the other, I think, better written ones in my opinion. Dragons, right? This is a classic example. I think there's a lot to chew on there. There was a lot of mystery because we didn't really know these characters very much, and we get to see them work through their weird history without them really hard explaining to us what they feel about the situation, right? We kind of get it through some context clues. We get it through some really good like reactions from Hanzo. You know, Hanzo's very emotional and emotive in that short, right? And it comes through the blocking and the choreography. And it lets that do more of the work while the writing doesn't really get in the way. It just kind of sets the stage a little bit. But I feel like in a lot of the more recent ones, they kind of just expositorily throw the point of it right in your face and being like, oh, you know, this whole thing, they're just talking about, you know, Juno being anxious and feeling like she can't do it, and somebody in her ear just kind of telling her that it's going to be okay. And that is just really like, yeah, I feel like I didn't really learn anything new about Juno. You just kind of told me some things that I already knew about this character from the other things again. And I don't know. It's like it's not an interesting short to watch on its own. It's just an addition to things that we already get, right? Like, I think the Last Bastion, I feel like the Last Bastion is really interesting to watch on its own. I like that one. That's my favorite one, probably. I think Dragons is really interesting to watch on its own. As just like not even connected to Overwatch. I think they're just really good overall type, you know, just nice, good shorts. I think, you know, the Juno one, I was never really a fan of the Kiriko one. The Junker Queen one is pretty whatever, right? I feel like the writing recently has just gotten like just very safe, right? It's just like we want the cinematic to be a home run. So let's just kind of just make it really, really sanitized, not have as much depth or nuance. And I'm not saying that all the old ones were really good written or really well written. I really don't think that either. But what's my larger point? It's not just me ranting about the writing being subpar in these cinematics. It's really that you may hear a very common thing about Overwatch needs a TV show. They need to have something. They make these cinematics. Where's the TV show? Where's the stuff that gets people in? If they were to do that, I think they need to outsource it. Just straight up. I think the writing is not strong enough to hold a full narrative that needs to take either the course of a movie or the course of a TV show. The writing as it is just, it gets by because these things are like a couple minutes long. And it's really more for figuring out the characters. It's more like a vessel for the voice acting and like the animation, right? But where you need to hold a little more weight in the narrative department and really prove something new, right? Why would I watch this show if it's just going to be like seeing the characters do random things or just kind of show us things we already know about them? I need expansions. I need nuance. I need character development beyond just surface level stuff. If I'm really going to think that a TV show is good enough to keep my interest or a movie is good enough to warrant recommending to other people, I want something to sink my teeth into, not just, yeah, that was fine. That was good. I'm glad that they made it, right? I want something that stands a little more on its own. So I don't want them to just, if they were to ever do like a Netflix show or anything like that, I don't think they can do it in-house. I think they do need to outsource it to some other studio or writer or something like that, because I just don't think it will pull in the crowd. I mean, think about Arcane. I don't exactly know how Arcane came to be, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, this was a much larger project outside of Riot. Riot has their own cinematics, but then Arcane is a completely different studio and stuff. I think it would have to be a situation like that. They have to give it away somewhere. You know, a bunch of video game animes are just like, they just hire an animation studio, stuff like that. I definitely do not think they'd be able to do it in-house. That's the hot take. Really, the hot take is that as it stands, it's not as simple as just use Overwatch cinematics in a TV show format. That is not going to work, I don't think. And again, Arcane is like good, right? Like I'm not over the moon for Arcane like a lot of other people are, but I think it is still good. And that's largely in part because they take a lot of risks and they change a lot of stuff, and it's stuff that you can't get in the game or the existing lore. There's a lot of interesting decisions. It doesn't want to just be telling League of Legends stories or stories with League of Legends characters. It really wants to do its own thing, and stand on its own. You do not have to play League, or know anything about League of Legends to like that show. It could just be the weird world that it was set in, right? And it doesn't have to, your enjoyment doesn't just come from, I know this character and I know that, you know, they're going to do something like this or this, right? Your enjoyment comes from actually engaging with the text and seeing like what is the whole point of everything. So that's what Overwatch needs. If they want a show, they need to prove, you know, like there's a reason for it to be a show, not just, again, another 6-second cinematic. That's my soapbox. But I will like to say, again, great cinematic. I think it was a great use of their resources, and I encourage them to continue to do them, regardless of the outcome, right? I think it's just a good way for us to get more cinematics, and the more that they do, the more likely there's going to be one that's really going to hit the park, or hit it out of the park, right? But yeah. That's it. That is my hot take, and that is other people's hot takes too. One more time, link is down below if you want to join my Discord and send me your own hot takes. I'd really love to hear them. You can leave them in the comments below as well. Please like and subscribe while you're at it. I do really appreciate it. And this was streamed live at twitch.tv/Lane Hemingway. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays is when I stream. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.